about the Vivaldi Four Seasons. But I really got excited about it years ago when I discovered that Vivaldi had written 4 little poems and then wrote these 4 concerti, the Four Seasons, to describe the words that he wrote in the poems. Now, you've heard so many people perform this. It's probably the most recorded, performed piece in the literature. But I was shocked to see that in the music, I was lucky enough to see the manuscript, and in the music, Vivaldi took parts of each sentence of the poems, and he put them over the notes where he was describing what he wanted us to paint a picture in music. And in those days, Vivaldi, he was called the Mad Red Priest of Venice. So this guy was gutsy. And for example, we're only doing winter, but in spring, the slow movement, he paints a scene of a shepherd relaxing on the grass with his sheep beside him, with the rustling leaves in the violins, but then he asks the solo viola to play like a barking dog. And he writes in Italian, tocar sempre con carne che grida. That means play always, sempre forte, always loudly, like a dog barking with a tearing sound. And most recordings, you hear the viola play, boom, boom, and that's not a tearing, barking song. And so I'll never forget when I played it in New York with members of the New York Philharmonic Orchestra, I asked the violist to play, bum, bum, and he said, "Mr. Heifetz, what will people think if I scratch?" And I said, "That's exactly what I want." You know, you can do whatever it takes to paint the picture. So today we're going to paint the picture of winter. And since we know Vivaldi wrote in the music, it's time for you guys to know what he wrote in the music. So you really hear things that maybe you've never heard before in a piece you've heard 1,000 times. So we'll start with the first movement of winter. So Vivaldi paints a picture that we're shivering, really freezing, shivering in the ice and snow. But then a horrible north wind comes interrupting and driving us crazy. And then we start stamping our feet to keep our toes from freezing. And what's amazing here, this is probably the most exciting melody that you hear in elevators, you hear every place, wherever you go, and nobody realizes that what Vivaldi is writing is the music to sound like you're stamping your feet because your toes are freezing. Here it is. And then it gets so cold that their teeth start to chatter. And what's amazing here is that even the music looks like chattering teeth. All the black notes lined up together like that. Now, yes, go ahead. Now, in the second movement, Vivaldi paints the scene that there's this person relaxing by the fire, cozy inside, while the raindrops are soaking everyone. And here are the raindrops. Here she is, cozy by the fire in the cabin. But now in the third movement, it starts out where we're walking very timidly, terrified about falling on the ice. But we start falling to the ground, slipping and sliding. And now they get up from the ice and they start trying to run off the ice between the violin and the viola. But unfortunately, the ice starts cracking. This is the sound of the cracking ice. And now the ice really breaks loose and they fall hard, baby. But suddenly, a warm wind blows in from North Africa. Remember, we're not in Staunton. We're in Italy. And from North Africa, this warm wind blows in, the first sign that winter might let up. But suddenly, all the winds burst forth and fight each other to the end of the piece. Now, I had a wonderful, very great American poet retranslate the Vivaldi's poems because the translations on the back of CD covers are really pretty bad. And Daniel Mark Epstein. And I would like now to call up Dr. Pamela Fox to read the poems. Thank you.